Hi there, and welcome back to our manufacturing webinar series. This is webinar 2 of 3. Today we're going to be focusing more on the advanced training side of Monday.com. Just to recap, in the previous session, Monday.com Basics, we kind of covered the building blocks. So getting a really good understanding of all the different components that make up your Monday workflow or, your operations. So we looked at workspaces, boards, and then how you can customize your columns and your groupings to group and track a whole lot of the necessary detail you need for your individual items. We briefly touched on views and building board-specific dashboards, and then we also did focus on the automations, so kind of the bread and butter of Monday and where they really stand out. Saving time, using those automations to complete your daily task or complete some of your daily tasks that you would ordinarily have to be spending time on doing and not having enough time for the important stuff. So in today's session, just a brief overview. We are still going to be focusing on the items that we touched on in the first session, but we're going to be going into a bit more detail. So the examples that we're going to be focusing on are a little bit more advanced. So now that you have a good understanding of what a column is, what an automation is, what an item is, we're going to be building on that, and I'm going to be showing you how you can use some more advanced column types, how you can use workflows, which is sort of like an automation, but a little bit more detailed, to even further kind of enhance your workflows. We're also going to be going into some dashboarding in a bit more detail. So looking at multi-board dashboards and how you can add multiple different boards within your workspace to an overall dashboard to pull through information from each of those boards that you can share perhaps with executives to get a nice overview of where everything is sitting. We're also going to be touching on some AI columns. So in the third session, tips and tricks, we're going to be really diving into some of Monday's core AI features. But in this session, we're going to be looking at AI columns and how you can use those in conjunction with your automations to make those processes more efficient and to save you even more time. So to dive straight in, you'll see on the left-hand side, I've added a few more boards. So we still have our maintenance request board and our inventory and warehouse management board, but I've added 2 additional boards, which are the equipment and asset register. So this is just looking at a list of production equipment that you have in your factories, on which production lines you have, and then just some information about those pieces of equipment. And we also have a purchase order management board. So very simple setup, but I'm going to be using, for example, our purchase order management and our inventory and warehouse management board in conjunction with each other to show you how you can link 2 boards and have automation to create items on new boards. And then for maintenance request and equipment, how you can actually connect boards together to bring through and mirror information that you need from maybe one board onto another. So the first example that we are going to be looking at is connecting a maintenance request to a piece of equipment on the equipment register. So in the previous session, we covered, sorry, I'm just looking for my mouse, there we go. In the previous session, we covered submitting a maintenance form and having all that information kind of connected, filled in from the form. And then we also used automations to set a status, set a date, and a few things like that. In this example, we are going to be using a connect column. So a connect column is like any other column. You would add it normally by clicking on the plus, going through to connect boards, and selecting the board you want. In this case, it's going to be equipment and asset register. Connecting that board. We do want to create a mirror column, but we're actually going to create a mirror column on the equipment and asset register board. So I'm going to touch on that later. And then one thing I just want to make sure, so here we've got the connect board. Currently, it's just a one-way connection. So if we go across to the equipment and asset register board, that column is not there, but we want a 2-way connection. So I'm just going to go through to these 3 dots. I'm going to go settings and customize connect boards. And I'm going to turn on the 2-way connection. I'm going to add column. So now if I go across to the equipment and asset register board, we've now got our link to the maintenance requests. So we've got our connection, which is fantastic. The second piece that we want is to set up an automation to actually automatically connect those two boards together when an item is created. So you can do this manually. You can go and click on connect item, and you can go and search, select and connect. So it's very easy, but obviously if there's an automation that can do this for you, we're going to want to use that. And good news for you, there is an automation that can do that for you. So we're going to go through to the automation section. We're going to use actually one of the pre-built templates that I discussed and talked about in the previous session. And we're going to search just the word connect. And this will bring up all of the different automations in relation to the connect column. So we can go show more, and this will show all of the options for connect column and a mirror column. And I'm actually going to just come straight through to the first option. So when an item is created in this board, which is our maintenance request board, we want the system to connect. Let me choose the board first. Equipment and asset register. We're going to choose the connect column, and we're going to say it's where the asset or piece of equipment that we select in the form submission matches the name on equipment and asset register. So it's going to search for those two matching pieces, and it's going to connect them together. So we're going to create that automation. Perfect. So now we've got that first piece. And now we're actually going to move across to the second board, equipment and asset register. And we're going to create a mirror column. So we're going to go through to the settings over here, customize connect boards, and we're going to add a mirror column. So the mirror column automatically will just pull through the first status column that's in the connected board, but you can then go and choose what you want to see. So I'm actually going to go and look at maintenance type. Actually, I'm going to look at the work order status, because then what we can have is we get a view. I'm going to pull it through here. Say maintenance status. So if there are no maintenance requests coming through on that board, this column is obviously going to come through as blank. But if there are new maintenance requests, it's going to automatically link. So if you come through to this equipment and asset register board, you'll be able to see what pieces of equipment are actually under maintenance currently, which is really nice. And then what I'm also going to do, so we've got those two pieces of information, which is amazing. The second automation I'm going to set up in this whole workflow is to change this status when a board connects, because the trigger for this connection is that a request has been submitted. And so automatically that's going to be putting that machine out of service because it needs to be maintained. So we're going to use a custom automation. We're going to create. We're going to say when column changes, so it's going to pick up when that connect board actually connects. And it's going to be linked to maintenance requests. Then we are going to change the condition to out of service, and we're going to create that automation. So now just to recap what we've done, if we go through, we've created that connect board. We've set up the automation to connect the two boards together when an item is created. Then on the equipment board, we have added that mirror column so we can see whenever the item is in maintenance. And we've got that status to change to out of service. So we're going to run an example. I'm going to show you how it all kind of fits together. I'm going to use cutting table, I think. Copy that. And I'm just going to double check that we've got cutting table and it does match the name. Perfect. And we're going to submit a new request. So we're going to copy the form, I just need to go and copy that name again. Perfect. And we're going to go add it in. We use someone else. Maintenance type, emergency breakdown. We've got our cutting table, target completion, priority critical, location, cutting room, description. I'm going to leave the description out and I'm going to submit. We're going to come back through to the maintenance requests. So we've got a new item. It's assigned Jared. Well, he was the one that set himself or submitted it. We've got the work order status. These two were left blank. We've got the submitted date, and you can see automatically it has connected it for us. Then if we go through to the equipment and asset management, we've got the mirror column, and this is automatically changed to out of service. So you can see we've set up those automations. It took us a few minutes, and now you've got those two boards connected up to give you oversight between the two and link it even further. So you don't have to, if you primarily work on this equipment board, you don't have to go between the two to see what's happening and to see what machinery is out of service. This will just update automatically as you need it to. Okay, perfect. And then one thing that I want to show you, which actually I set this automation up in the previous session, but we never actually used it, but we're going to go and change the status to in progress. And it's going to move that item to in progress. And if we come through back, you can see that mirror column has updated accordingly. So you can see that in real time. Awesome. So now before I move on to the next kind of automation interconnection between inventory and purchase orders, I'm going to touch on our AI columns. So an AI column is a way that you can use AI to perform a certain action for you in a column. So you can do extracting information, you can do automatically assigning people to a task based on expertise. So if we go through to add a column and we go more columns, and you come through, I'm actually just going to search AI. It's going to show you all the AI powered columns that you can use. So you have translation, you have extraction, assigning people, extract from file, assign labels, custom. So if one of the items you're looking for is not here, you can use a custom AI prompt. So kind of focusing on manufacturing, but linking to possibly another department. If you are a manufacturing company, you're not, you are the actual garment business. So you're a clothing company, you do all the manufacturing yourself, and you have a customer service department that deals with any new customer requests coming in. You can use, and this is a very random example, but you can use a sentiment detector linked to an email. Every time a customer query comes through, you can automatically detect if it's an angry customer, if it's a happy customer, if it's just a general query. So that's just a, one example, not really related to what we're looking at, but kind of just to look at something external to the operations. But in this example, we're going to be looking at assigning people. So I'm not going to add a new column. I'm actually going to edit one of the existing columns that we have. So we're going to be focusing for this example on the assigned technician column. So we haven't looked at assigning anyone or setting up any of those automations because I wanted to use the AI to showcase that. So to add AI to an existing column, you'll click on the three setting dots, and you will go through to this section. You'll notice it's an AI section when it's got this little colorful star. You'll go to auto assign people. And then you'll have this kind of section. So this allows you to now set up your instruction. Basically, you've got your input and then your assign technician. So we are going to do our input as the piece of asset or equipment. So this is a simple example, but we're going to say, okay, so if it's a sewing machine, then you're going to assign Jared. If it's a steam press, then you're going to assign Kessia. So that's a kind of one-to-one example, but you can really set up quite complex instructions based on expertise. So if you have multiple pieces of information or multiple pieces of equipment that are electrical based, you can put in the instruction that Kessia is an electrician. So then it will look for all of the different assets that are electrical based. And if that comes in, it will automatically assign Kessia. So it's not necessarily a one-to-one relationship, but it can kind of be a blanket instruction as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add people. I'm going to do myself. I'm going to do Jared. And I'm going to do the wheel. So I'm going to say that the wheel deals with all sewing and embroidery repairs. Not very good spelling. Jared deals with steam press repairs. And Kessia deals with loom repairs. Okay, perfect. So it will update. And what's really nice on the left-hand side here, it's actually going to give you a preview. So it's going to look at the first 7 items on your board and show you what it's picking up from your instruction, what it's going to do. So you can see if it's working correctly. If it's not, you can then go and fix your instruction. So I'm going to say apply to empty and existing items. And then for every item that I now go and create, it's actually going to go and assign a person new. So I'm going to save and apply this. So we'll just take. Cool. So now you can see it's gone ahead and it's assigned the different people in relation to their different expertise. And if I were to now create a new item for, let's say, a sewing machine, it's automatically going to assign a wheel. So that's really nice because it will avoid any delays. So let's say I am getting notifications that a new request has been submitted. If I can't get to it right away, I'm not going to be able to assign someone, or I will be able to assign someone, but much later, which is then obviously also going to go ahead and delay someone being assigned, someone then going to start the maintenance. So by automatically being able to kind of standardize that assigning of a technician in this example, but it can be used across the board, you're saving that time and preventing any bottlenecks or delays. So the system can just assign it for you, and then the work can begin. Cool. So now we've kind of focused on this maintenance request and equipment side. I'm going to move across to our inventory and warehouse management. So we haven't really been focusing too much on this board so far, but I'm going to set up a few different examples here. So we're going to be looking at stock status, and I'm going to set up an AI column at the end of the example to actually deal with that for us. But in this case, we're going to be looking at using a workflow to automatically, the workflow is going to be the second piece. The first piece is going to be automatically creating an item on another board, which in this case is going to be our purchase order management board. So it's going to pick up that an item is low stock, or it's reached its reorder level. It will then create an item on the purchase order management. Finance or procurement is going to come into this board, see that a new purchase order is required. You'll see the information that I've got here is supplier, finance approved, status, delivery, reorder, and purchase order. We're going to be working with, this is a file column, the supplier and the status primarily. So the first part is creating the item. The second part, and a new feature that we're going to start talking about, is a workflow. We're going to use that workflow in conjunction with an Outlook integration to automatically send an email to a supplier once the status changes to send to supplier and the purchase order document has been added. So I know that was a lot of talking and a lot of steps, but now we're going to put it into action. So The first item is we are going to go ahead and create the automation. I've actually got a few of these because I was testing them. I'm going to show you, this is also a good teaching example. If you want to delete an automation, you can just go 3 dots, delete. And I'm going to delete this as well. Delete this just so we're starting from kind of a clean slate. You also don't have to delete automations. You can just disable them temporarily. And if you want to come back in and start using them again, you can turn them back on. So that's a nice kind of less permanent way of creating that automation. So the first automation that we are going to create is when the status or the stock level status of an item reaches or changes. So when stock status changes to low stock, then we are going to create an item in the purchase order management board. The item is going to go into the draft section. We're actually going to pull through the item name as a placeholder. Supplier, this we're going to leave blank for now. Finance approved, these are all obviously also blank because this is going to be filled in once the item has been created. And then we are going to create that automation. So before I actually go ahead and trigger that, I'm going to use this as a way to segue into the AI column that I want to set. So I'm going to use the status column in my AI example, and we're going to, in conjunction with our reorder level, link the two up. So this is an AI categorization prompt. So I'm going to do a custom prompt actually. We can do auto assign labels, but the custom prompt just allows a bit more flexibility. So I'm going to say in stock, low stock. Okay, we've got all of them. And I'm going to put in the instructions. So I'm going to say when we're going to reference current stock is equal to or less than, and then we're going to go to reorder level, set status to low stock, which will obviously then go ahead and trigger the automation that's going to create an item on the purchase order management board. So it's just taking a while to think. Perfect. So you can see already it's working really well. We've got current stock over here. That is 280, reorder levels 500, 120, 150. So we've got 4 examples. So we're happy with this. I'm actually just going to, can't apply it, which is fine. The board does not currently contain any empty items. Okay, perfect. So the reason that, yeah, that's all good. Perfect. So we've set up this first example. You can obviously also then go and set rules for in stock as well. So then you can say when current stock, current stock reaches or is, we can also even put a buffer. So is 10 or more units higher than the reorder level, then set status to low in stock. So you can do that for any kind of categorization. You can set up those multiple rules. The custom prompt is always, I find, a bit better because you can put in a full paragraph of instructions and pull through different placeholders of information. And I'm going to save. Great. So we're actually going to now go and put one of these into practice. So we're going to use the cotton poplin fabric white. The current stock is 850. The reorder level is 200. No purchase orders currently. And I'm going to go and set this to 150. So if my AI is going to work, well, it should work. It will change this to low stock, which will then trigger the automation to create a purchase order on that purchase order board. So it'll take a few seconds just for all of them to work. You can see that's changed seamlessly. And then if we go across to our purchase order management, we've got that new purchase order request almost to trigger. Someone now knows, okay, stock level has reached where it needs to, well, a low enough level that we now need to place new delivery. The third portion of that, which we're going to be touching on in the third session using some really cool AI features, primarily Monday Vibe, is on the delivery side. So when new stock comes in, creating an app that can manage all of that for you as well. So don't want to expose too much, but that's something that you guys can look forward to for the third session. But now, coming back to this particular example. So we've got this draft, it's come through here. We have no supplier selected. Finance approved. I'm not really using it in this example, so we could actually not even have this column, but then we've got our statuses. I'm going to go ahead and delete this stuck. You've got awaiting approval and send to supplier. Expected delivery, reorder quantity, purchase order. These two we're more going to be focusing on in the next session, so you can ignore those for now. But our purchase order is now we've drafted the purchase order for our document or for our order. I'm not going to upload anything yet. I'm not going to put a supplier in yet. I'm going to move on to the next item of discussion, which is creating a workflow. So if you click on this blue button, you'll see out of all the options we have is workflows. So a workflow it's essentially an automation, but it's a way that you can have multi-board automations with multiple conditions and multiple different branches. So you can see on this side, this is kind of a nice visual example of what a workflow would look like. So it is an automation, but just with a lot more flexibility. So I'm going to call it PO workflow. And we're going to create. It'll just take a few seconds. Awesome. So you can see it looks very different to the automation recipes that we have been building, but you still have a trigger and you still have your action. So the trigger is going to be when status of the purchase order management changes to send to supplier. So the status is going to say, we're going to choose the board that we want, and status is sent to supplier. We're going to add in a condition. So we're going to have, remember we had those multiple or those supplier column with the two suppliers. So the condition is going to be if dropdown is, and again, it's going to be purchase order management. We're going to do supplier is either supplier A or supplier B. So we've got when status changes to send to supplier, if dropdown is supplier A, then we are going to send an email. I'm going to use Gmail for this example, but you can also link to Outlook. Send an email. You can see my Gmail is already connected. If I wanted to go and add a new account, I'll just click on add new account and go and log in to the relevant Gmail account that I want. And I'm going to actually, what's really nice is you can pull through if you have an email column existing already. So if you had a supplier board, which again, I'm going to be touching on in the next session, but if you had a supplier board, you could actually link and mirror, like we did in the first example, an email from that supplier column. So then you could just reference the email column, which then would kind of mitigate this. But I want to show you the different conditions, which is why I'm using this example. But I'm just going to go and put in manually my email address. You can CC, you can BCC, I'm going to say new PO or the name, which is there. So this will pull through the stock name. And then we're going to put in the body, please see attached O for name again. And what's really cool is we can actually now go and attach a file. So if we upload, which we are going to do, a purchase order document to that purchase order column in this workflow, when that email gets sent out, you can actually have that purchase order attached in the email automatically. And then for supplier B, we're going to do the same thing. And that's the email. Sorry, no, not name. Lost focus for a second there. I'm going to use my other Gmail. So kirsteron gmail.com. EO. Sorry, it's a bit of repetition, but just want to show you the process of how you set this all up. I'm just going to say example here, so we don't have to type out the whole thing, and I'm not going to attach the document, but we could go in it. What have I not? Oh, here we go. Perfect. So now you'll see we can go ahead and publish this workflow. So now once it's published, it's live. So every time status changes to send to supplier, an email will be sent out. So we are going to now go ahead and trigger this workflow. So we're going to put in supplier A, finance approved. This is a checkbox. So this is a cool another type of column that you can use. I'll just check it off here. And we are going to upload a purchase order document. I did save one. There we go. It's a screenshot. I just got a demo one from online. But if I open that up for you, you can see it's just a purchase order for a fabric company. And we are now going to go and change that to send to supplier. And I'm going to see if I can actually open up my Outlook and then share my screen to show you what that email is going to have looked like. Perfect. So it's come through. I hope this works. I'm going to quickly just share my Outlook. We've got new PO for cotton fabric. Here's the attachment. Fantastic. It's got the body. I'm going to close that. So obviously this was a really simple example, but you can see it happened within a moment of minutes, and all that we had to do was change the status. And it looked at the email that was linked to supplier A, it looked at the purchase order, and it sent that email out. Awesome. So the next thing that I'm going to go through is a dashboard. But before we do that, I want to do a few more AI columns. And the one that I think is one of the coolest is the AI extraction column. So it can look at a document or multiple different source columns. So it can be a document, it can even be an Excel, it can be a link. So if you have a website link, you can put the link in, it can be an update section, and you can give it a custom prompt to extract information that you would like from it. So I'm going to do an AI extract. We're going to come through and add a text column. And I'm going to extract the PO number. Oh, sorry. I'm just going to do actually hashtag. Perfect. So now we're going to go through to autofill this column. We are going to extract the text. And we are going to say, so there's a few built-in fields, but you can choose a custom item as well. So I'm going to say the purchase order. I just want to see, actually, before I do this, I want to see what it's called. So if we open up this document, this is what it's called. So if this all works out, my goal is to have this number be extracted and put into that column. So I'm going to say, I'm going to use this as the field, purchase order number with the hashtag. So I'm just going to redo that. There's something else, just order. And the input that we're going to use is the purchase order document. And we're going to save and apply. And so now should take, I don't know if I did fill in existing items. Back. There we go. Okay, so it's just taking a few seconds to think, but it's now gone and extracted that number from the document. And if I went through, and what's nice about this is even if I put in purchase order number and I typed it out, the system will still know to extract the number, and it doesn't have to follow the same format every time. So obviously with purchase orders, if you're creating them and they're in line with your kind of company structure and templates, it's going to be the same every time. But if there are invoices and quotes probably more, that are coming through from the suppliers and you want to extract information from the quotes, those quotes are going to be coming through in a whole lot of different formats. But the system is advanced enough to still be able to look through that document. If you have given a clear enough instruction, it will be able to extract the information that you need. So you don't have to worry about things being in the same format. If you've given a clear enough instruction, the system will know what to do. So you don't have to worry about that. And it is, I mean, I work with this every day and it is very, very accurate and very reliable. Perfect. So moving on to our last item for this session is our dashboarding. So I've mentioned it a few times, and in the first session we did go through just creating a chart view, but for this example we're actually going to be creating a multi-board dashboard. So if we click on this blue plus sign, we want to create a dashboard. I'm going to say main overview dashboard. We're going to create. And we're going to select all the boards. So I'm actually going to be pulling through information from inventory, maintenance request, and equipment and asset management. And we're going to go done. So now we've got our dashboard. We can now go and pull through information from all of those 3 boards that we selected. I'm just going to move this up here. So to start off, we're going to click on Add Widget, and I'm going to do a chart. For this one, I'm going to start with the maintenance request. I'm going to do 1 or 2 or 3 widgets from maintenance requests. So I'm going to say priority breakdown. So I'm actually going to add in most of the same ones that we did in our first session. I'm going to go, yeah, I like the bar graph. We're going to go one by one. Actually, no, the first step, we need to select the board. So obviously we've got all 3 boards. So this is pulling through any kind of status from all the 3 boards. But in this case, we just want to see maintenance requests. And we want to see priority breakdown. Perfect. Then the next one we're going to do is we're going to add in a pie chart. And we're going to go and select the board again. The label we're going to do here is asset and equipment. So equipment breakdown. And then what else should I do? Let's go back to the board. And we're going to actually add in a workload widget. So this is really nice for assigning. Obviously, we did set up that AI piece to automatically assign individuals based on expertise. But if you wanted to assign individuals based on capacity, there's a really cool widget called a workload widget. So if we look here, we're going to add that. And it's going to look at the person column that you specify. So in this case, we're going to select the technician. Just go and choose boards and maintenance request again. And so you can see here, it's going to separate out by week and by number of tasks assigned, or number of requests assigned to all the individual technicians. So this might not necessarily be maybe helpful for a maintenance request, but it might be helpful for another piece of or another flow that you're tracking. So you've got this really nice view of where the people are sitting in terms of their capacity. Now, the second board that I'm going to focus on is inventory and warehouse management. But I've just remembered for one of the items that I want to add, I want to add total value on hand of stock. So I'm going to add in a number column and a formula column, which we actually haven't touched on before. So I'm going to say a unit price, and then I'm going to add in a formula column to calculate the total cost of stock on hand. Apologies. So we're going to go and add unit price times current stock and set formula. I'm just going to add in a few examples. We're not going to fill in everything, else we're going to be here for a while. Cool. Okay, awesome. So now if we go back to our dashboard, we're going to go and add in a numbers widget. So this is just, it's very simple numbers, and it will pull through account or total that you specified. So we're going to just expand this. We're going to go through to the settings. Boards again, we're going to just have the inventory and warehouse management board. And I just am realizing the formula column, and this is another example for nice, I don't know why this is not, oh, here we go. Perfect. Sorry, I don't know why it wasn't coming through. So we're going to want to look at the cost of stock on hand. And so this will update automatically as your stock levels are rising and dropping, which is really nice. And we're going to go and add in a rands on the left. Perfect. So now from numbers, it actually looks like it's got monetary value. Then we're going to add in another widget. It's going to be another chart. And we're just going to look at all the items that are low stock. Again, we're going to go boards, inventory management. And we're going to look at stock status. So where everything's sitting in terms of stock. Fantastic. So that's sort of it for dashboarding. I think just to show you how easy it is to go and add in and change the configurations of your dashboard and all the different widgets that are available. I just wanted to kind of build it in real time. There's so much more that's possible. I could spend so much more time building out an even more detailed dashboard, but I hope this kind of gives you a good idea of what's possible. An example that I actually just thought of while I was working through this, if you wanted to find out kind of reorder cycles or reorder quantities, every time you could set up an automation so that every time a reorder level or the reorder level is reached, so then a purchase order is changed and a delivery is made, you can set it up to increase the kind of order count by 1. So then what you'll get is actually a view of the items that are being reordered most often. So then if you need to know, okay, I need to be ordering more, I need to be more proactive, we keep on running out of these things to make it a bit more streamlined, then you have that information, which you can also pull through to your dashboard. So you can have a number widget on your dashboard that says reorder count per inventory item or per stock item. And so you can see, okay, if there's one that you've only reordered like once or twice, or you haven't reordered, it's not getting used, maybe you need to look at some inventory management and cut that out. Or if you are, like I said, ordering something over and over again, looking at ordering more quantities of that. Cool. So that concludes our second session, advanced training. In the third and final session, tips and tricks, we are going to be looking a lot at Monday AI. So we're going to be touching on AI Sidekick, AI Vibe, and AI agents. And I'm going to be showing you how you can use those to even more level up your workflow. So I think just kind of the structure in terms of what I've been trying to do is first session, basics, getting the hang of Monday. Second session, building on those basics, kind of further making those processes more efficient. And then third session is just taking everything to the next level, saving you even more time, using custom apps, using agents to run things in the background for you, and to bring everything onto Monday. So it's kind of becomes your centralized operational hub. So thank you so much for listening, and chat in the next session.